Wow, so great to be here. Welcome everybody. Hope you're having a great morning so far on this incredible Reach weekend. And right now I get the privilege to interview two very special people, have a bit of a chat, and they're going to come right now. I'd just like to introduce to you Hanna, who is the founding director of Flame Cambodia, and Houn, who is the leadership director there. So come on through, guys. Let's grab a seat. Fantastic. So guys, just to give you a little bit of background, so the Riverview Children's Foundation have been involved in Cambodia for a number of years, and for many years we met Sue through an organisation called Hagar. And then in more recent years, Sue has actually started another organisation called Flame Cambodia, and we began supporting Flame just a couple of years ago, and they are doing just some incredible work. That's one of the 7 organisations in Cambodia that the Riverview Children's Foundation partner with. So Sue and T have come all the way to chat to us this week and to give us a little bit of an insight into one of the organisations that we partner with. So this is Sue and this is T. Oh, I've just dropped my card. That's always a good start. And so first of all, Sue, I just want to ask you a little bit about Flame. Tell us a little bit about the background of Flame and what you guys do.
Okay. Kia ora and g'day, mate. Flame started with a God-inspired moment on my dirty, dusty balcony in Phnom Penh in mid-2015 when I was reading my Bible, and you know how sometimes a verse just jumps off the page and hits you, and it was 2 Timothy 1 verse 6 where the old boy Paul is speaking to the young boy Timothy, and he says to him, fan into flame the gift of God that's within you. And I just knew this was a God moment. They don't come around that often for me, so when they do, I really know it. I just knew God was saying to me, this was an umbrella that I needed to work with him on, to fan into flame, to bring potential to the front, to help Cambodian young leaders see the gifts that God's put in them. And then, you know, we work a little bit to fan it into flame, and then like a good old Barbie, at some point it takes off and you can walk away and leave it, and it's still roaring fire. So that was the picture and the inspiration. And it's been a wildfire experience for me. My job, I keep telling everybody, my job is to stay out of the way and let God do what God is doing and not mess it up. Yeah.
Love it, Sue. It's incredible. And of course, we've got to see some of those outworkings of what Flame do, and it is just incredible, church. There are many T's, many young adults and young men and women who are there and working with and for Flame, who are mentoring and leading and just doing an incredible job of identifying that next generation and seeing how those young kids who are so intelligent and have so much going for them, and all they need is some opportunity, and then they will be sitting here like T one day as well. So T, thank you so much for coming all the way from Cambodia. Now, I've had the privilege of getting to know you a little bit and witnessing a little bit of just your incredible leadership, and just so inspired by the way you lead in your role. And also just, I think for me, just knowing a little bit about your background as well, and seeing how, not just how far you've come, but just the way you sow back in is incredible. And so T, we've had a bit of a chat, and you've told me that when you were very young, your mother was killed in a landmine accident, and you'd already lost your father, so that did leave you an orphan. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened after that time?
Yes, thank you so much. After my mom passed away, everything in my house, my oldest brother control all. I have 2 older brother and 2 younger brother, and I am the middle. And my biggest brother, he always hit all of my brothers, and he always used bad thing to all of my brother and me also. I remember one time he picked up the stone and threw to me, and my head broken. 2 or 3 places like that. And I living without freedom, scared, and very difficult to live with them. And I think I could not live with them anymore because I am scared of them too much. So I decide to run away from my house. And when I start to live in street, I feel lonely too much. I have no friend, I have no place to stay, and I have no food to eat also. And I also remember one night, there are 2 or 3 gangsters come to me, and they use the cigarette, put on my leg, hit me, ask me to find some money for them. If I cannot find some money, they will do bad things to me. I am a little, and I scare of them too much. I decide to ask money from other people. And sometimes I don't have money. I decide to steal the mirror of other car to sell so I can get the money for them. Yes. And sometimes the house owner, they not us to stay in front of the house. They threw the bad water to me. And every night, very cold, hungry, and very bad life. Yes.
Wow, T. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that's not easy for you to have to, bring up some of those memories. And it's such a privilege to hear stories like this, church. And we're just really grateful for your bravery and courage in telling us. So when you were 8 years old, you'd been on the streets a little while, and then you came across, you met someone from World Vision. Can you tell us what happened then?
One day, a staff from World Vision come to me. Do you want to have a place that have a lot of food, friend, you can get education? I feel I need that. So I decide go with him. Yes, at that place I get many friends. I have a lot of food. I can get education like that. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so then from World Vision, you went into a foster family with another organisation called Hagar? Yeah, great. And then so from there, tell us a little bit about what happened from there, your schooling, your university, etc.
I think very happy that I get on that time. You know, Hagar, they have Wilson transfer me to Hagar, and I live in like a foster family. I never think about that because when I live in street, I have no anything. And I remember one time that I play in front of the school, and I saw a family. They took the children to school like that, and when they opened the car, the children, they said, "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Father, for taking me to school." I feel uncomfortable in my life. Why? Why they have parents, but me, I don't have. Yes, and I think I am very lucky that I live with Hagar. Hagar, they provide me a good family, that they love me so much. I can get education from grade 1 until grade 12, and I have a lot of friends. I can get anything in Hagar.
Wow, T. Oh my gosh. Let's give him a clap, guys. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, T, I heard a little rumour that you have a couple of degrees, is that correct?
Yes.
In IT management? Yeah?
Yes.
And what's the other one?
business management.
Brilliant, yeah. And also just tell us a little bit about your family as well.
Yes. I think it's very important time that I with my wife. The first time that I work with Hagar, I work with young adult that they live in community. That I am the person to look after the young adult who rent room to live in a community that they continue to study at university. And on that time, I have a room that close to my wife nowadays. And the first time I said only 2 times per week to visit my young adult at community. But when I saw her, I go there every day. Yes, and we have relationship 4 years, and then we get married, and I have a son now.
Wow, brilliant. I love it. So, T, yeah, give him another clap. This is just an incredible young guy. So, T, you're now in your early 30s. You work as the leadership team leader for Flame, and you're responsible for the leadership programs right across the Flame organisation. And so from that little boy who didn't have enough to eat and didn't have a family to the opportunities that you've been given, and you're sitting here today with us. And, you know, I just wanted to say thank you, because it's not just about the opportunities that you're given, but it's also your courage and your tenacity and your just willingness to put one foot in front of the other and have faith in God, and He's taken you to where you are today. But let's just thank Sue and T this morning, guys. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
But today, I just want to tell you some stories. I love stories. As a kid, I was in church since before I was born, and I have heard literally thousands of sermons, but there's some built-in sensor inside me that when the preacher starts to tell a story, I jolt awake. And like, here's a story, and it's over. As a kid, right? So today, we're just going to have some stories. We're in good company. In Matthew 13, it says that Jesus did not say anything without using a parable. So he knew the power of stories too. There's a saying, WWJD, you know, and I know that is so yesterday. It's over, and I am so yesterday, and there's still some life left in me. So we're going to use it, okay? It came from a book written in 1896, which actually is way before yesterday. But it's inspired by a verse in 1 Peter 2:21 that says, Jesus left us an example that we should walk in his steps. And so this guy, Charles Sheldon, wrote a book called In His Steps. And I read that book in my 20s. The book's about a group of people who pledged before they did or said anything, they would first ask, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus do? And then the pledge was they would do it. Regardless of the cost and the consequences and what people thought of them, they would do what Jesus would do. And it's a story of an heiress, an artist, and all the people they bumped into along the way, and how it changed them, their families, their church, their community, their city. And I can remember the absolute devastating feeling when I realized I was 3/4 of the way through this book, and I realized it was a novel. I thought it was a biography. I thought it was a true story. And everything in me was racing. My heart was beating. And I was going, yes, yes, this is the Christian life. This is how it's supposed to work. It's a novel. And you know, it was a defining moment for me. But like where, you know, you remember where you were when you heard that Princess Diana had been killed? That kind of a moment in life. Okay? I was in Taupo at that time in New Zealand. Where were you when you first saw the footage of the 2004 tsunami? That kind of moment, right? I was at the gym. Everybody got off their treadmills, got off their machines, and we stood around the TV and watched with our... This was that kind of moment. It was a Popeye moment. You know, Popeye's got a girlfriend and her name is Olive Oil, and she's a stunner, right? And at some point, olive oil's always getting beaten up or pushed around. But Popeye stamps his foot and he says, that's enough. I just can't stand it no more. Right? Questionable grammar. English teachers all over the world would cry at that one. But he got to the point of action because he couldn't stand it anymore. Okay? We're the same. We see stuff around us and we see it every day, but at some point something inside us snaps and we decide that's enough. I just can't stand it no more. So back to the book, okay? I was gutted. It was like, no, this is just wrong. This should be a biography. I was desperate to know that if I did what Jesus did, life would change in me and through me and around me. And I remember deciding that I was going to try. I don't care if this is a novel, I'm going to try. A bit like way back in 1872, a man called Henry Varley talked to a man called D.L. Moody, and he said to him, they were having a latte down the road at Starbucks, and Varley said, the world has yet to see what God will do through one person, totally consecrated to him, right? And that landed in Moody's brain, and he mulled it over for a year. And in 1873, when he met up with Varley again, he reminded him of that conversation, and Moody said to Varley, by God's grace, I will be that man. And that was my feeling around that book. I am going to do this. I'm going to show that this doesn't necessarily need to be a novel. Okay? And Moody shook 2 continents for God, and over 1 million people came to Christ through his ministry, and he was an ordinary man with not a lot of education and not a great speaker, but God used him because he said, I will be that man. I will do what Jesus will do. I will live out love. That's what I'll do. So let's race ahead in time to 1986. I am in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm listening to this little preacher called Juan Carlos Ortiz. He's an Argentinian guy. And I told you, I've heard thousands of sermons in my time, but I can remember this sermon so clearly. He was a little guy and it was a big pulpit, and you couldn't see him behind it. So he would stand to the side and hold on to it. And he talked about the body of Christ. And he said, these are the feet of Christ. And everybody's, yeah, we know that. These are the hands of Christ. Yep. This is the mouth of Christ. And for someone with a mouth like mine, that's a little bit of a nervous moment. Okay? And then he had the suit, and he went like this with the jacket, and he said, this is the suit of Christ. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're getting a little bit weird now. But then he went like this into his back pocket, and he said, this is the wallet of Christ. And there was this snigger that went all across the room that I was part of. And he got mad. And he held on to that pulpit, and he leaned over the front with his wallet, and he shook it. And he said, no, he. No, he. You let him use his wallet. And I was, whoa. Yes. If this is the body of Christ, that means what I do with these hands and these feet and this mouth that earns me money makes this the wallet of Christ. So let's move ahead to the 21st century. And in 2004, a month after the tsunami happened, so we're January 2005, and I'm at a Christian music festival called Parachute in New Zealand, and there's 20,000 people there. And I was invited on stage in that festival to talk to these people because a lot of people were saying, where is God? They'd been watching the footage over and over and over again. And the whole world was saying, where is God in this? And I remember looking out at those people sitting on a grass bank and saying to them, where is God in this? And in 5 minutes, those 20,000 young people used those feet to go to those donation boxes, and they put $65,000 into those donation boxes to show the world, where is God? God is here in his people, wanting them to be the body of Christ and to let him use his wallet, right? So our current, let's come to today, right? Our current world, we have dilemmas today, and that same question's being asked. Where is God when children are being abused? Where is God when young people are sick and dying? Where is God when poverty slams the dreams of the urban poor to ever go to school? I didn't realize until recently that in the Bible, so many times when it talks about the poor, it says the poor and oppressed. Those two words go together. Because people are poor because they are oppressed. Of the 31,102 verses in the Bible, I like maths, 1,379 of them talk about the poor or the oppressed or some synonym of those words. That is 4.4% of the Bible is about the poor and oppressed. That is 1 in 25 verses in the Bible talks about the poor and oppressed and what our reaction should be. Now that should give us a hint as to one of the things that's pretty important to God and big in his heart. And I see the poor and oppressed and the urban poor of Phnom Penh every day. They are hardworking people who really desperately want better things for their kids than what they had. But they are oppressed. They pay rent for their crappy little hovels that they live in. They are selling river snails or collecting rubbish or doing whatever. And they pay 3 times the amount for their power and 3 times the amount for their water. And when they're pushing their little carts along the street and they're selling snails outside the factories to the factory workers, they have to pay the factory to be there. And the police come along and they fine them just for being them. And they go home and 75% of the money that they earned that day they've had to give to other people. And they go home with enough for tonight's meal, but not enough for unexpected medical bills. And not enough for school fees and school books and school materials and shoes. And just a little treat is not enough. Because they're oppressed. You've heard from T. He's a man that inspires me every day. I know his story and it still gets me and I sit there and I bawl my eyes out. But he's a man who's done the hard work and walked the journey of the full circle. And he's now serving back in communities to kids who are just like he was. And he's a walking, talking, living role model of what God can do in a young man's life when you work together with God. You know, there are also different people who came alongside him to be the hands and the feet of Jesus in his life. People he's never met and probably will never meet. But they used Jesus' hands to get Jesus' wallet and gave Jesus resources and became partners in walking alongside him before he was an awesome young man. Okay. Where was God for T when he was a street kid getting abused and beaten up by the gang boys? Well, God was in the World Vision staff who saw him and identified him as a kid we can help. Where was God when T was doing the long journey of going to school and just toughing it out and getting his education? Well, God was in the amazing Cambodian woman who lost her husband and her son in Pol Pot time, but fostered these boys and loved them like her own and still loves him. Okay? Where is God in T when he lives out love to kids every day? He's in him as he is now giving back into the community, okay? And it's the same for us. Where is God in your community? He's in you. Where is God in this stuff that goes out? He's in you because you use his hands and his feet to get his wallet or to serve or to help or to speak encouragement. God is in his people, wanting them to live out love. There's a verse in Micah 6:8 in the Message Bible, and it says, "But he has already made it plain how to live and what to do." What God is looking for in men and women is quite simple. Do what is fair and just to your neighbour. Be compassionate and loyal in your love. And I like this last bit. Don't take yourself too seriously. Take God seriously. Okay? So as I finish up, simply put, God is wanting you, Riverview, to take him seriously and to live out love and be his hands and feet and let him use his wallet. Because he's got this way that God works. When we let him use his wallet, you look back and it's still full. I don't know how he does that. It doesn't make sense. So I just want to leave you with 2 final words. What if? What if we loved our neighbour as ourselves? What if WWJD was lived out in Riverview Church? What if? What would it do in you, your family, your community, your nation, the world? What if we let him use his wallet? What if we lived out love? Riverview, this is your chance to show the world where God is.
Great, Sue. Come on.
He's in his people.
Yeah, great, Sue.
I want to finish by praying 2 prayers of blessing over you. Firstly, it's a Franciscan blessing, and I call it the so that prayer. And it goes like this. Riverview, may God bless you with a restless discomfort about easy answers and half-truths and superficial relationships so that you may seek truth boldly and love deep within your heart. May God bless you with a holy anger at injustice. I've been talking to Alex and she's all about justice. May God bless you with a holy anger, that's Popeye, anger at injustice, oppression and exploitation of people so that you may work tirelessly for justice, freedom and peace among all people. Beautiful. This next one, I love it. May God bless you with the gift of tears to shed with those who suffer from pain, rejection and the loss of all that they cherish so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and to transform their pain into joy. Oh, that's what I want. May God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you really can make a difference so that you are able, with God's grace, to do what others claim cannot be done. And lastly, just a blessing. This is from the urban poor of Cambodia to you. May God bless you with an abundance of love that's returned to you and to yours as you live out love, as you do what Jesus would do, by being his hands and his feet and his mouth and his wallet, to show the world where God is. May God return in abundance to you far above what you could dream or imagine. God bless you, Riverview. We can't do this without you, but together we can live out love. Yeah.